Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton trading some barbs at tonight's Al Smith dinner. Here to discuss, Trump supporter Kayleigh McEnany, Peter Beinart, a contributor to The Atlantic, Gina Loudon, a Trump supporter and a behavioral and psychology expert, and Van Jones, a former Obama administration official. We have a lot to talk about, but I want to get all of your reactions to the Al Smith dinner tonight. First, Trump spoke. Let's listen.
I wasn't really sure if Hillary was going to be here tonight, because I guess you didn't send her invitation by email. Or maybe you did, and she just found out about it through the wonder of WikiLeaks. We've learned so much from WikiLeaks. For example, Hillary believes that it's vital to deceive the people by having one public policy and a totally different policy in private. That's okay. I don't know who they're angry at, Hillary, you're right. For example, here she is tonight in public, pretending not to hate Catholics.
All right, and here is Secretary Clinton.
And if Donald does win, it'll be awkward at the annual President's Day photo when all the former presidents gather at the White House, and not just with Bill. How is Barack going to get past the Muslim ban?
Okay, so everyone, Donald Trump was booed. Was he too sharp? And another example of, questionable temperament since we've been talking about this. I'll start with Van Jones first.
Well, look, I think that maybe he was a little bit too sharp. I also think that, don't forget, Hillary Clinton represented New York. So she's literally, obviously they're both New Yorkers, but she's in a hometown. She's got a hometown crowd advantage, even though they share that hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that, you got to have a little bit more sensitivity there. If you'd done the same thing in a red state, it'd have been a completely different response.
Gina?
I tell you, I wish I could comment on the clips you played in the last segment, because I just relished those moments of civility that we saw between the two of them, where Mr. Trump touched her on the back, for example, where they were making jokes that were actually funny instead of politically motivated or jabs. I just think that our country is so thirsty for a little civil discourse and a little humor that those are the parts that I just want to choose to focus on right now. It was just a nice relief, especially after last night.
Peter?
I think Trump missed an opportunity. I don't think Hillary was that great either. I think, frankly, Barack Obama has much better comic timing than both of them do. But
Mitt Romney, surprisingly.
And Romney, right.
Yeah.
I think both of them are fairly bad at this. But I think Trump would have done better for himself had he told more jokes about himself, had he been more self-deprecating. And I think, especially given the political problems that he's been having, that would have been useful. I think it would have been part of the kind of Kellyanne Conway strategy. I think he spent too much time attacking Hillary Clinton, and some of the attacks were not even really jokes. They were just kind of attack lines, and I think he misread the crowd.
Kayleigh?
Yeah, I think Gina's right here. I think of all the debates we saw, I think one of the best moments was the moment where they were asked what they admire in the other candidate. And I think we all, are in this heated election. It's very contentious. And to have that moment where you just have that lightness of, I like this about Hillary, or I like this about Donald Trump, and have, moments of jest, I think the American public likes and they relish.
This is a roast, Kayleigh.
I know.
They're supposed to roast each other.
But it showed a different side outside of the contentious back and forth in the debate.
But I happen to think that all of you are right. I do think that Hillary Clinton read the room and the tradition of the room better. I don't think that either of them was great. But I also think that the funniest moment, I think, of the night may have been the Melania Trump moment, when he was actually sort of making fun of himself through Melania. And that's what it's supposed to be about, self-deprecation. Then you jab your opponent, and then you go back to jabbing yourself, and then it's like the sandwich thing.
But is it a good thing to read the temperature of the room at the Waldorf Astoria? Yeah.
For this
severely
event.
out of touch with
for
I
this
don't think the
event.
Waldorf Astoria is that alien a place for Donald Trump.
It's a roast, Kayleigh. Lighten up, all right? That's what it's saying.
I'm just saying.
It's a roast. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about last night. Okay, this made headlines last night. Here it is.
I want to ask you here on the stage tonight, do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time.
And this is Donald Trump from today.
I would like to promise and pledge to all of my voters and supporters and to all of the people of the United States that I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win.
So, Peter, after the last debate, you wrote about what you called Trump's lack of understanding about presidential power. Do you think that Trump's comments last night prove that he's a lack of understanding about our democracy?
Yeah, I mean, this is very dangerous stuff. I mean, if Al Gore, at the end, after he lost the presidency, after winning the popular vote, and then losing a 5-4 Supreme Court decision, had not been willing to accept the results of that decision, we would be in a very different country today. If it became the norm in the United States that candidates did not accept losing elections and said, the candidate, it's rigged, I don't accept the legitimacy, that would seriously impair our functioning as a democracy. The Donald Trump statement today was the statement of a clown. This is not the kind of thing you joke about. This is about as serious as it gets in the United States. You respect the will of the people. You don't challenge the legitimacy of the person who has won. And Donald Trump is playing with fire.
A clown, that's harsh language, don't you?
No, I don't think so. When you joke about not accepting the will of the people in an election, that's not the kind of thing you should be joking about.
I assume the same standard applies to the Democrats and would apply to 2002 when Hillary Clinton said at an LA fundraiser that George W. Bush was selected and not elected.
Well,
so
he was selected by the Supreme Court, but she never challenged his legitimacy.
But not elected.
She treated him as a legitimate president for 8 years.
It's important we have context here because Donald Trump's comments come on the heels of a video coming out showing Democratic operatives saying how they bus people from one state. No. This isn't.
Of course, you're changing the subject.
I know this is context.
Don didn't ask about this.
I know
he asked about Trump's comments.
This isn't. You got to let me finish because this is important context. The day after a video comes out showing Democratic operatives committing mass voter fraud and saying what they will do to allow people to vote in mass in many states, that is when Donald Trump made this comment. He wants to ensure that there's not mass voter fraud around the United States. You have Democratic operatives related to Hillary Clinton on tape saying they're going to do this. It is completely fair to say I want to make sure that this doesn't
Jones,
happen.
go ahead.
Well, I think I've been pretty clear about this. First of all, Donald Trump, I want to back up and just talk about the politics here. Obviously, it's despicable for him to pretend that there's any chance that he would not accept the results of this election. It would be, in 240 years, you've never had anybody do it. I can't imagine that anybody thinks that some low-level person talking to some video person is worse than what was going on in the 1800s when it comes to elections. Those would never challenge. Let me just say this one thing, though. Politically, Donald Trump has gone in 3 weeks from being Trumpzilla, this unstoppable force, to being Trumpty Dumpty. I mean, this guy has thrown himself down the stairs so that instead of us talking after the debate about his foreign policy or about his ideas for the economy, we're talking about whether or not he's going to accept the result of the election. When you use the word clown, I think that's a kind word. You got scary clowns, you've got nice clowns, but Donald Trump, he would have to climb a high ladder to be taken as seriously as a clown, because you cannot think that 3 weeks out from the election, you want to be having this discussion with the American people.
Gina?
All name calling aside, I think it would be irresponsible of people who are running for the office of president to commit, especially in light of all the scandals we saw break last week with the Clinton campaign. I think it would be irresponsible to say that we're going to somehow commit that even if the election is fraudulent, that we're going to accept the results. I don't think people on the Democrat side or the Republican side should commit ahead of an election that they know for sure nothing's going to go wrong.
But Gina, that is, with all due respect, that's what you're saying. That's not what Donald Trump, had Donald Trump said that last night, I don't think that it would be under the discussion. Well,
but with all due respect, I mean, elections have been questioned all along. Al Gore, of course, did it famously. Clinton refused to even support Bush after he was already the president, wouldn't help with transition, because it is true. And Elizabeth Warren, I mean, the list goes on and on. There are rampant reports all across the country. In fact, there's a new report today in Texas about massive voter fraud. There are tens of thousands of dead registered voters. I just think it's irresponsible irresponsible. And if somebody's going to answer a question about last night, how about Hillary Clinton answer whether she is going to give the $25 million back to Saudi Arabia for their abuse of girls?
Right.
There's so many things that are wrong with what she just said.
Go ahead,
There's so many wrong things. First of all, I think it's important to be very clear. It is in fact true that there are people who are dead who are on the voter rolls because it takes a long time to get those rolls cleaned up. That does not mean that people are therefore going to vote. That somebody, I'm going to go and say, well, my name is so-and-so, this dead person. The idea that you have voter registration problems and voting fraud are completely different things, number one. Number two, I think it's very important that we keep a couple things in mind here. When you have a major figure like a Donald Trump saying these kinds of things, this is continuing a tradition of him trying to delegitimate the American presidency itself. He came out with the birther stuff, delegitimating the President of the United States. Now he's pre-delegitimating Hillary Clinton. This is very dangerous in a democracy.
We'll be right back.